Hello, everyone. I am Philip Young. I am a professional astrologer, and I am going to be doing a cosmic weather report for the upcoming month of September. And so I hope you enjoy this report about the new month and what's going to be going on astrologically. Now, when I do this report, I look at three things that I want to share with people about what's transitioning and what's happening. That does include actual transits. This is where the points are in the sky and the interaction they have with one another, primarily the outer points that take enough time to really have an impact over a significant amount of time to make it worthwhile to talk about them. I also like to take a look at ingresses, which is when points are moving from one sign to another. And of course, the common ingress is the sun, which does it every month. And we'll be taking a look at where it's going from one sign to the next, along with other points that will be ingressing, primarily the inner points that are the fastest moving points in the zodiac. And then also talking about retrograde. We just, of course, have finished up a Mercury retrograde from the month of August, and we will be facing a number of retrogrades going into September that also deal with the outer points, and I'll be talking about those as well. So what I'm hoping to do is just give you a sense of the astronomical flavor of the upcoming month of September and what we can expect energetically with the transitions and the ingresses and with the retrogrades. So let's begin with the ingresses. And even before that, recognize that there is certainly a lot going on in the world around us, more so perhaps than we would consider at any other time in history. And in fact, outside of probably major world wars. In fact, a lot of the energy that we have going on right now actually did occur during major wars. And so there is that parallel that we do have to sort of face as part of our dynamic at this particular time. But let's start with the points that are transitioning in the month of September. So the sun is the one that occurs every month, and it occurs usually between the 19th and 22nd of each month. And the first transit of ingress will be on September 22nd. The sun will move from Virgo into Libra. So Virgo's energy is about refining our skills, attending to our health, and also seeking self-improvement through some sort of diligent effort or diligent work. Now, once it moves into Libra on the 22nd, we'll be looking at a focus towards balance and cooperation and resolving conflicts. So this particular transition signifies a time of the sun to improve our relationships and embrace more diplomatic or graceful ways to solve life's challenges. Now, the other ingresses include Mercury. Mercury will start the month out in Leo, and then it will ingress into Virgo on September the 9th. Roughly spends about 3 weeks in a sign, so we'll have two ingresses of Virgo in the month of September. So as Mercury moves from Leo to Virgo, it actually moves into the sign, one of the signs that it rules. It actually has dual rulership. It rules both Virgo and Gemini. So communication shifts from Leo's kind of bold, dramatic expression to Virgo's more precise, analytical type of focus. Now, this encourages us to go to more thoughtful speech and self-expression, to be a little more detail-oriented and organized in what we're saying. So this increases our problem-solving abilities in terms of our mind and our communication. So it becomes an ideal time for refining ideas and improving efficiency in communication. Now, once we get to September 26th, Mercury will move out of Virgo and into Libra. So it will be sharing the same sign as the sun in the latter part of the month. As it moves from Virgo to Libra, we're going to get communication transitioning from, of course, Virgo's meticulous analytical style to Libra's more balanced and diplomatic approach. So we'll be focused on shifting to harmony, fairness, collaboration, and communication, increasing social interactions, and working on collaborative solutions for our difficulties. Consequently, it's an ideal time for negotiations, relationship building, finding common ground. If you have to do something contractual, this is a good Mercury to do contractual work under, since Libra actually rules the seventh house, which is the house of the law, as it turns out. Now, the next point to think about is Venus. Venus begins in Libra, and it will ingress into Scorpio on September 22nd. So September 22nd is going to be kind of an active day. You've got the sun making its ingress, and then you've got Venus making an ingress, and that's going to go into the next sign, Scorpio. So as it moves from Libra to Scorpio, the relationships and values transition from Libra's sense of balance and harmony to Scorpio's more intense energy. And we'll have this shift encouraging a deeper connection, exploring hidden desires, and embracing transformative experiences in love and relationships. Scorpio Venus inspires us to seek meaningful and profound bonds, prioritizing emotional honesty and the power of vulnerability in our connections. On the shadow side, Venus and Scorpio can deal with secrecy, so some secrets may come out during this particular transit. So from September 22nd on, going into October, there may be some revelation of secrets in terms of relationships that could come out with this particular transit. Now, Mars starts out in Gemini and will actually ingress into Cancer fairly early in the month on September the 4th. So as it moves from Gemini to Cancer, the energy shifts from Gemini's quick communicative style, kind of aggressive style, to Cancer's nurturing and emotional focus. So in Gemini, Mars encourages curiosity and adaptability, promoting dynamic interactions and versatile actions. As it enters Cancer, the emphasis turns to protecting loved ones, emotional motivation, and actually defending your personal values. So this transition inspires us to act with sensitivity and care, but also with a sense of power and assertiveness. So it does want us to think about what we need to do to protect our families, but also pursue emotionally fulfilling experiences. Now, as it turns out, Pluto will retrograde in September. It will actually retrograde back into Capricorn, and it will do it on the 1st of September. So that is coming up immediately. As it moves back into Capricorn, the focus shifts from Aquarius's forward-thinking energy to Capricorn's ambitious kind of influence. But I think because it's in a retrograde phase, it will be kind of looking back and again, bringing about a reflection on where we want to go with the Aquarian Pluto, which is innovation and societal change, but it's going to be breaking down established norms. As it re-enters Capricorn, the emphasis returns to restructuring power, authority, and traditional institutions. Now, what will happen is that while Pluto is retrograde in Capricorn, the U.S. presidential election will take place. So there is a good chance that it will incline towards or want to be connected to past sort of attitudes about things. In other words, sort of a reaching back. So in some ways, there will be perhaps an advantage for a candidate that is actually not progressive at this particular juncture or not seeking progressive, because that energy will be back in Capricorn and be connected to that kind of previous energy that was where Pluto has been since 2008. So it will be interesting to see how this has, or what effect this has on the election and people's attitudes. But also, Pluto in Capricorn is about revealing corruption and seeing systems failing and breaking down. So another aspect of this could be that it will show more clearly the need for some sort of new solutions, because the old solutions have really not turned out to be what we hoped they would be. And this is going to run across the board in terms of education, healthcare, taxation, anything that's a large system. If it's not working, this last look at Pluto and Capricorn will reveal that, and probably will get a lot of attention in the election cycle in terms of what's being presented about the problems that the country faces and potential solutions that could be offered. Now, retrogrades, there are going to be quite a number of them. This is sort of retrograde season going into the latter part of the year. So Saturn is retrograde at the start of the month. It actually went retrograde on June 29th, and it's going to be retrograde for the entire month of September. So Saturn prompts reflection on spiritual growth because it's in Pisces and the boundaries that we have. You may reassess your spiritual beliefs, seeking to strengthen your connection with the divine, or just define it. It will be a good time to establish healthy boundaries in your spiritual practice and your spiritual relationships. Now, Chiron also went retrograde on July 27th, and will be retrograde the entire month of September. So with it being retrograde in Aries, Chiron encourages introspection and healing of old wounds related to identity, assertiveness, and independence. This retrograde provides opportunity for personal growth by confronting and overcoming past hurts, ultimately leading to greater self-awareness and empowerment. Now, I will be talking about where these points are position-wise and a little bit in relation to what's going on with the U.S. chart, because Chiron was in the US chart in its birth time in Aries. So this is being reflected as a Chiron return. Now, Uranus actually will go retrograde on September the 2nd, and it will stay retrograde for the remainder of the month and also throughout the latter part of the year. So during retrograde in Taurus, Uranus encourages introspection and reevaluation of what makes our civilization, our society, our daily lives stable, and how we determine our values and what we look for in terms of personal safety. So this provides opportunities for growth by challenging old patterns and embracing change in areas related to finances. Now, because it's retrograde, we may be a little bit hesitant or cautious or prudent about how we do that, which is what we should be. It also prompts us to confront and transform outdated beliefs, ultimately leading to greater freedom and a renewal of sense of self-worth. So what we may see during this, and I've always thought this with regard to the retrogrades of Uranus, is there are breakthroughs, and there are a lot of breakthroughs that don't hold up. They just don't make it into the future. But the things that stay or establish themselves during the retrograde phase, they don't fall off. Those are usually the ones that are going to be permanent changes. There was a big rush around, let's use electrical vehicles as an example, that now has cooled off. And the question of what electrical vehicles are going to be in terms of the future is a little less clear than what it was when it first hit the market, and there was this push and excitement, and all the companies were dumping money into it and discovering that it just isn't going to go as fast as they thought it would. There's still the presumption that it will be part of the future, but maybe not going to be all of the future. And probably this retrograde will really sort of define what that's going to look like. And that will be with other types of things as well. Is Bitcoin going to replace the financial markets and replace what we currently have as the way we do transactions through currencies? That's probably going to be, once again, another thing we'll discover, maybe a component of it, but will not be replacing it as people perhaps thought when the first breakthrough, when the first energy started. And this is going back, of course, to 2019. Now, Neptune is retrograde at the start of the month. It went retrograde on July the 3rd, and so it'll be retrograde through the entire month as well. And it's in Pisces, so this does prompt deeper introspection. Not only that, but it is at the end degree. It's at what we call the anaretic degree at 29 degrees. It is going to go back to an earlier degree. But this definitely indicates a bit more of an energy around illusion or around things that are hard to see, hard to predict. So, what I would offer is that anyone that's trying to say which candidate's going to win, of course, it's a coin toss. You can, assuming these are the candidates that are actually there on November the 4th, which there's still a chance that something could change in that regard. Nothing that has to be as dramatic as the assassination attempt was, but it could be something that could be quite significant that shifts things. But even if we assume that the existing candidates are going to make it to the date of the election, the idea of predicting the outcome, I think, is really, as an astrologer, I appreciate what I've seen other astrologers do. They've used different techniques. There have been a number of astrologers that said it's going to be Donald Trump. There have been a number of astrologers that said it's going to be Kamala Harris. I think that, again, trying to predict that and get a result that you can count on under a Neptune transit like it is right now, being in Pisces, is a little bit of a stretch. I'm much more comfortable with not knowing and not telling people what I think is going to happen, because I think really it's up in the air, and it will be potentially a mystery that will be unfolded and probably not even settled even on the date of the election, no matter what the results turn out to be. I think that's going to be also a quality of the Neptunian impact. Now, lastly, Pluto retrograde, as I mentioned, it's ingressing back into Capricorn. So it went retrograde on May the 3rd and will remain retrograde for the entire month of September. So while it's in this retrograde phase and going back into Capricorn, it is going to prompt a reflection on power structures as well as personal authority. So this period will encourage us to reassess our approach to responsibility and control. And as I said, it's going to be in Capricorn. Actually, it will go back direct, and then it will pass through and complete its time in Capricorn by November the 19th. So we need to challenge outdated systems with this particular Plutonic energy and seek transformations in areas related to career, ambition, long-term goals. So, it could be a time where you're really reflecting on where you're going with your life and where you want to be in the long term. And that's also going to be stirred up, I think, because of the election. What is the world going to look like in the United States after this election? And again, with the particular transits that are happening and the positions of the planets, I think it's going to be fairly volatile and fairly unclear until we get probably through the middle of 2025. And at that point, I think what I can feel safe saying as a prediction is that there will be some sense of settling that will happen. Whether we like the settling or not, I think we will see that that is going to be part of a new reality that we can hang our hat on, which I think at some level is something we're all perhaps waiting for or wanting to happen. There's been enough instability and chaos that there's only so much of that can be tolerated before it really does start to have a truly difficult or damaging effect on the psyche. So what I want to do now is talk about the current positions that have to do with the points, and starting with Jupiter, actually. So Jupiter is firmly in Gemini, and it will remain there until June the 10th of 2025. So while there, Jupiter expands the realms of communication, intellect, curiosity. You may experience a surge in mental activity, seeking knowledge. Great time to learn something new. Take a class, go to school, pick up a trade, anything that will allow you to increase your knowledge and improve your communication. Doing it under Jupiter, fantastic. Probably see also a surge in just information and communication. I know we're getting that with social media already, but probably there'll be a continued kind of explosive energy around that type of communication style. So it's an exploration in the realms of learning, but also travel and social interactions. Now, Saturn is still moving through Pisces, which it went into Pisces in March of 2023, and it's going to be there until February 13th of 2026. So it is going to go into Aries and go back into Pisces. It will be finally out of Pisces and into Aries after February 13th. But while it's in Pisces, it's definitely lessons of spiritual growth, compassion, emotional boundaries, emotional responsibility. You may confront situations related to your faith or empathy for others or even self-sacrifice. Saturn in Pisces demands discipline in navigating the depths of emotion and also the unseen realms. It urges practicality because it is that energy that Saturn brings, but it's dealing with the illusionary energy of Pisces, or the visionary energy of Pisces, or the dream energy of Pisces, as well as how we're connected to the collective, because Pisces is also the energy of the collective. Now, Chiron is in Aries, and it went in April of 2018, and it's going to be there until April 14th of 2027. So while in Aries, this brings attention to and wounds about identity, self-worth, assertiveness. Individuals may confront wounds related to self-image, your confidence, how you feel about what you're trying to achieve for yourself. Also, it prompts healing through self-discovery and being courageous and embracing personal power. Therefore, it encourages individuals to confront vulnerabilities head on for, really trying to foster resilience and self-empowerment. Now, in terms of Uranus, which is another point that is in Taurus, and it's been there since May of 2018, and it will remain there until April 25th of 2026. While in Taurus, again, we're seeing all of these changes in daily life. The last time Uranus was in Taurus was 1934 to 1942. So we are talking about a time period of the Great Depression and the lead up to World War II, but really thinking about how daily life dramatically changed. And we're seeing that kind of energy play again. Now, Neptune in Pisces since 2011. It's going to be there until January 26th of 2026. And again, this is about heightened intuition, awareness, empathy, all of these things where the boundaries, the emotional boundaries, are very fluid. And we also have a sort of a breakdown or breakthrough with regard to the material and spiritual realms. Hopefully this will inspire compassion and empathy, but can also inspire some delusion and illusion. And that is going to lead to a potential attempt at escapism, or maybe even have to deal with a lot of deception. So what's nice is having Saturn sharing Pisces right now to try to keep things a little bit more contained than when Neptune was without Saturn sharing its space. Now, Neptune, historically speaking, difficult time. It was 1847 to 1862. So we're talking about the lead up to in the first couple of years of the Civil War. So as I mentioned, war was a theme in each of these particular positions, and they are in those positions for us right now. And then finally, Pluto, it entered Aquarius on March 23rd, 2023, and actually is going to stay there until 2024, barring this dip back into Capricorn that's going to happen this year. So once it gets solidly into Aquarius, this is going to be about challenging outdated systems, encouraging innovation, revolution in social dynamics. As individuals, we may experience profound need for freedom and equality and progressive change, which has been happening and to some extent may be argued it's happening too rapidly, but it is going to continue to kind of come towards us. The question will be, does that Pluto Capricorn energy, when it goes back in that, does it create a reach back, which I'm certainly sure we're feeling some backlash that comes with that. And then, but Pluto's influence in Aquarius is supposed to introduce some kinds of extremism and radicalism. So it doesn't necessarily mean progress. I certainly understand that that's an inclination when we think about the new age, but every point has its shadow, and Aquarius's shadow is fanaticism. It is an energy around doing things that fit a very narrow focus. And that can, of course, be something that is not progressive. It's just representing the Aquarian idealism. And a lot of isms aren't particularly healthy, but they would fit the Aquarian shadow in how they behave, which is to say, there are very clear definitions of them, and they are much about trying to make a better society or to make society something that is envisioned as ideal. And that idealism can be egalitarian or it can be totalitarian. That's where the slicing of the energy is going, particularly one way or the other. It can go either way. And that's important to understand without being unrealistic. I mean, I would like to see a more egalitarian society myself personally, but I'm also realizing that if you look at history, there are times where we certainly choose an idealism that's much more narrow and much more restrictive. And we're certainly facing that kind of energy on a global scale. And even within each individual country's politics, there's very much a sense of we want to come up with solutions that are very sometimes narrow or simplistic because it feels better to have something that doesn't reflect the complexity that can oftentimes be very difficult to deal with. And again, you've got Uranus disrupting the daily life. You've got Neptune affecting us all on a spiritual level. Certainly, I would say an explosion of channeling and spirituality and connections with the idea of extraterrestrials or UFOs, and all of this is really all at a very, very high level, and just people's intuition, people's psychic connections. This is all Neptune and Pisces. And then Pluto's coming in and being a disruptor, which it does. And I think it really did its disruptive work in some ways on a scale of showing where things are difficult by what happened with COVID and the disruption of the economic system, because that's really what Capricorn mainly rules is large businesses, governmental institutions that manage the world, straight up power in Capricorn. Aquarius is going to be, how does the society decide to respond to it? Now, the next and final part of what I like to do with this cosmic weather is talk about major planetary interactions. And I focus on Mars and its relationship to the points going up to Pluto, because when Mars interacts with a point by aspect, it spends about 5 days there, which is certainly enough to notice and pay attention to. Now, what we'll have starting in September is retrograde Uranus in Taurus in what's called a sextile or a complementary relationship with retrograde Neptune in Pisces. So we're talking about earth and water energies interacting in a way. Now, this actual transit's going to run through the entire month. So it'll be there for the entire month. And during this aspect, we can expect actually innovative and harmonious shifts in our values and dreams. Uranus and Taurus inspires new approaches to material and financial stability, while Neptune and Pisces enhances our intuition and creativity. So if you have a good idea for making money, you might see a breakthrough because the Uranus and the Neptune, by being in retrograde, doesn't need to rush anything. a very methodical approach to something you see as a visionary opportunity with the practical energy of Taurus could take hold during this month. So if there's something that you're considering that you would like to implement and build, this will be a great transit under which to initiate that opportunity. So this alignment leads to breakthroughs in spiritual and practical realms. So there is this blending of imagination and reality. So this is a nice transit. Hopefully it will help us get through this particular time of volatility, at least for a month. It will extend a little bit into the next month as well, and I'll talk about that when we have the next presentation for the next month. Now, also in that first week, from September 1st to September 7th, there's going to be another sextile that's going to run the entire month. This is going to be retrograde Neptune in Pisces in a sextile with retrograde Pluto in Capricorn. So again, water and earth combining. Now, during this particular transit, we can experience profound transformation in our values. So Neptune in Pisces deepens our intuition and spiritual insights, while Pluto in Capricorn is going to encourage restructuring of power and authority. This harmonic aspect facilitates the blending of dreams and personal practical action. Consequently, this can lead to a breakthrough to align our inner vision with real world changes. Now, how this could apply on the global scale, it will be interesting to see as the politics sort of narrow down to the arguments for what's going to be the platform to choose when it comes to November the 5th, which is the day of the election. But for on a personal level during this month, again, you've got a nice energy here where if you've got a vision and you'd like to see it come into the world, this can be a great month to apply. Start a business, get an LLC, invest in something. Again, think Taurus and Capricorn, investing in something practical and tangible, maybe land, buying property. Any of those things could work really well under these transits. Now, we will also have a transit that starts on September the 2nd and runs all the way to September 22nd. That's going to be retrograde Uranus and Taurus in a trine, which is a collaborative energy with retrograde Pluto in Capricorn. So if you can imagine, there'll be like this triangle where Neptune is going to be the point, and then the two wings are going to be Uranus and Pluto, and they're going to connect also with a trine, which is a 120-degree angle. Now, during this aspect, Pluto in Capricorn fosters transformative changes in financial and material stability. And this alignment encourages innovative approaches to restructuring long-standing systems. So blending practicality with unconventional ideas, that's the Uranian part of it. So it's a powerful time for reevaluating and revolutionizing foundations of security, authority, and personal values. How this will play out on the global scale or on the national scale, or maybe on a local scale, you'll have to pay attention to your local, and you'll have to watch and see what happens nationally to see if this energy, which is generally positive for this month, could move things in a good direction, while we're also facing a lot of challenges that are part of those positions I mentioned earlier. I mean, when you're talking about having 3 points that were in the signs they were in during major war periods, Revolutionary War, Civil War, World War II, that means that on the whole, it's a volatile time. But within this particular moment in time, there is some really good energy in September, which I would encourage, find a way to take advantage of it if you can. Now, finally, from September 7th all the way to September 30th, so it'll start on September 7th this first week, Jupiter in Gemini will sextile and complement retrograde Chiron in Aries. So now we've got an air-fire complementary design happening. And Chiron in Aries is definitely going to continue to encourage healing through expanded communication and learning. And then the alignment is going to encourage growth and wisdom by addressing past wounds with a fresh viewpoint. So it's an ideal time to explore new ideas, sharing insights, and using knowledge, to overcome personal challenges, because we've got that Gemini energy of communication and Jupiter's wanting to expand it. Aries is wanting to be forthright and honest. So again, a great time if there's a hard conversation or something you want to reveal and you want to move it forward through conversation, through a discussion with someone, this will be the time to do it. September 7th to September 30th. That energy will be supporting an honesty and an honesty in communication. Now, from September 8th to September 15th, we have those sextiles continuing. So Uranus and Taurus, also Neptune and Pisces, that connection still going on. Neptune and Pisces and Pluto in Capricorn, that sextile will still be going on for that second week. So will the sextile with Uranus and Taurus, and the Pluto and Capricorn, actually the trine, that's going to be going on. And then that other sextile I mentioned with Jupiter and Chiron continuing on. So this first set of transits that are occurring in the first week, they're going to run through the next few weeks, and really they're dominant. There's nothing else that pops up. So even September 16th to September 23rd, all four of these hold and continue to go through. So definitely worth taking advantage of. This energy is going to be really available to us for an entire month. Now, at the end of the month, there will be a transit involving Mars. Mars in Cancer will get to a position where it trines with Saturn in Pisces, Saturn being retrograde, and that's going to be from September 25th actually until October 1st. So during this transit, Mars in Cancer with the trine with Saturn in Pisces promotes productive efforts toward achieving long-term goals. So this alignment supports disciplined action and strategic planning. I know that's a little bit hard to hear with Mars. If you know a little bit about Mars, Mars isn't really a great strategic planner. But in Cancer, that actually does help. Cancer is a very thoughtful sign about how to do things. And it's going to blend with, Saturn's focus and sense of responsibility. So yes, it's an ideal time for tackling projects with patience and persistence. So to my mind, if you're going to implement something under those other transits at the beginning of the month or through the middle part of the month, what you would be looking for at the end of the month is delivery of an outcome. What would that be? Would that be, if you're building a business, would that be you've got the website, the business cards, you've got a location that you're renting, you're getting product out, whatever that might be, that's what you're maybe hoping for by the end of the month. If you're looking to buy property, again, you would want to be perhaps under contract, or maybe you're renovating something and you're wanting to see it reach its fruition point. This would be excellent. So very, very positive month. I mean, that hasn't been the case because usually we get squares, we get inconjuncts, we get challenges. But as it turns out, quite nicely, this is going to be a lot of supportive energy. Now, one of the things I want to do here at the end of the video, and I didn't do it in my previous video, but some people commented on it and I was appreciative of that, is if you want to find out more about my personal practice, I am actually at www.blackunicorn.com. But unicorn is spelled with a Y and a K. So it's black, BLACK, UNYKORN.com. And there you can see what personal services and professional services I provide, because a lot of this really is most effective when you take these transits and you apply them to your own chart. When you know what's going on in your chart, you can understand how these transits can affect you. As an example, Uranus right now is moving through my 7th house, which deals with my partnerships and the relationships I have with people. So there's a lot of, breakthrough and disruption energy that's going on there that is going to have an effect on my 5th house, which is where Neptune and Saturn happen to be, which is creative energy and trying to implement the things that I do creatively, spiritually, which is I'm actually doing these videos. This is something that would be, in a way, hopefully gaining more traction, giving me an opportunity to develop this. So one of the things I'm looking to do is maybe do some additional videos. But yes, if you're interested in seeing how this works, certainly visit my website, find out more about me and what I do. I would certainly love to have an opportunity to work with anyone that comes to me individually, a new client or previous clients. But I do hope that this proves to be something helpful. I know that, again, like I said, when we look at, as astrologers, we are concerned about world events and what's going on. And living here in the United States, I'm certainly concerned about what's going on politically. But a lot of the things that are happening are so much larger, actually, than the specifics of this particular political process. In other words, I would say whoever is going to end up with the job, whichever person that ends up being, they're going to be in for a lot because these transits are going to be in effect until we're really going to start to see the shift, I think, when we get to 2026. That will be a bit more of a stabilizing. I think we'll get stabilized happening in 2025, but we really do need Neptune to get out of Pisces. We do need Uranus to get out of Taurus. We do unfortunately have Pluto moving. We do need Chiron to get out of Aries. So be aware that the volatility will hold, I think, until those transitions actually take place. So I hope this has been helpful, and I look forward to talking to you again, either through another video before the end of the month or certainly with the next video on the cosmic weather.